Good evening. How are you? Well, they say it's 90 out, but it doesn't feel that. It could be the trees, but it's awfully comfortable to be 90, and it just doesn't seem consistent. There's no wind. The sun is gorgeous. So, what's going on in the world? What catches our attention? Iowa has passed a 6-week abortion ban. I think most intelligent people realize that that's too short a period of time for people to know and to act upon whether or not they want to exercise dominion over their body and have an abortion or not. And I suppose that's the point, to signal that there's some period of time in which an abortion is all right, but really it's too short to actually affect one. Iowa's interesting because it's on the hit parade for those who would be president, and it'll be interesting to see how Iowans figure this out when they have the Republican presidential primaries coming up, not too far down the road. So that's kind of interesting. In the category of questionable truth, we had NATO talking kindly of Zelensky and Ukraine and how they would be a great addition to NATO. But, and now I'm summarizing my opinion, they want to wait and see how Zelensky does in Ukraine. Like, let's see if he wins the war. Okay, that's one argument. I think that's ridiculous because the point of joining NATO is to assist in the winning of the war. And then that raises the cowardly aspect of this, which is instead of mostly kind of covertly having denial for all the weapons and arms and advice we give to Ukraine, we are not following Article 5 of NATO, which provides that an attack on a member of NATO can prompt the other members to join with them and to resist and to fight on their behalf. Now, simplifying, that would mean NATO was at war with Russia, and they don't want to say that. But it may be the only thing that can help Ukraine win the war and become the legitimate members of the war, as they are now fighting the very war alone with winks and nods and assistance, which is substantial, don't get me wrong. But are we going to be less the effort to win? Now, Vindman, who is my guiding star on Ukraine, it's because he's been so accurate on so many things, both when he was in the Trump administration calling foul on Trump, and since then when he's been talking about how best to deal with Ukraine. And he's of the view, 1, they should be in NATO, 2, we should be in the air, and 3, number 1 ain't going to happen. That is, NATO is not going to cross the Rubicon, if you will, the symbolic journey that Caesar took, signifying revolution, because troops didn't cross the Rubicon. And when they did, it signified, maybe like Trump, that Caesar was imperial, an autocrat, and nothing less than dictatorship would do. And so we all watched Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, and as youngsters perhaps, we didn't realize it was good that they killed Shakespeare. They didn't kill Shakespeare. Life did that. Killed Caesar. It was good that they killed Caesar. But then what happened afterwards was the chaos. And that's one of the problems we've noticed about revolution. That you overturn a government, and then you all sit in the kitchen figuring out what to do about it. Yes, I'm thinking of the French Revolution, the sans-culottes, and everything they did. But then along came Napoleon and pushed it all back into a hat. And all the walking and talking with Lafayette that Jefferson could do couldn't put France's revolution together again. And so they traded a god royal king for self-elected Napoleon, who would have conquered the world. Some say he did, but he didn't hold it for long enough. So anyhow, is NATO all about that? Well, hints of it. It's not sweeping across the landscape of Europe, but it could be, because we've found that small wrong steps in foreign affairs, failure of diplomacy, greed, ambition, false forecasts of what will happen can result in disastrous international problems and war. And this war won't be like the other world wars if it comes to that. So if we're not strong now, and on behalf of Zelensky, in my opinion, we may find ourselves facing an even stronger Russian bear. In the category of, will people ever learn? Everybody scratches their head and wonders about the floods in Vermont and how it's hurting the people there. How some are stranded, some will probably die, hope not. That they're out there and they're seeing people trapped in water. They see them running to avoid the catastrophes. They see the water running in the streets of cities, and there's not much they can do about it. And this is going to be one of the effects. And I still, you know me, I hate that word, climate change. If this isn't global warming, what is? One of the aspects of global warming is that the air can hold more water in the air. And so when it decides to dump it, it can dump it after traveling greater distances. We saw that years ago in Texas, what it meant. How the clouds and the water and the rain just hung over Texas for the longest period of time. I'm not saying that's what's happening in Vermont. I haven't seen an analysis that tells us exactly what caused it. I don't think there's anything we could do to have prevented it in the short term. And if we don't wake up, our longer terms are going to have more and more of these amazing and dangerous and disastrous weather events, and that's a shame. On the investigation front, we are informed that there are 2 grand juries being sworn in Georgia. So we may be getting close to an indictment of Trump. Everybody's keeping their cards close. None of us have been impressed with the prosecutor Willis moving on Trump and those that tried to interfere with the Georgia election. But it is moving, and we'll find out if she lives up to her promise, either in July or in August. Then what else is going on? I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but it's quite bizarre to see in Iceland the torn view of the earth from the lava, which hasn't erupted but is bubbling up. That's something to behold. It's like a sore in the earth, and you can see the heat, the fiery heat at the edges, like of sutures. And all across the earth, we're going to be seeing these things. It's like a bad movie. And the almighty dollar that we don't want to spend is going to extend the danger to us one and all. There's still madness in our public discussions. There's shortcomings among our leaders, and we have to constantly talk about how they're failing us and cheer on those who are not. Nothing would please me more than to salute that prosecutor in Georgia. Nothing would be better than to have Jack Smith indict Trump for what he did at the Capitol and the scheme that they had with false electors and a bullshit story about how a vice president could delay the election instead of just counting, send it back to be reconsidered by the states and create a constitutional crisis. So we continue to have a venomous group conspiring to overthrow our government still by ignoring its laws and ignoring the facts. And that's our challenge. Does anybody want this job? No. It's worse than, honey, will you take out the garbage? But that's the objective. We have to take out the garbage. We have to throw these people out of office. We have to blunt their attacks on our system of government. We have to reassure people that rights will be restored. Women will not have to deal with 6 weeks. We will not have judges obstructing prosecutions when they've received the cases in court, as I expect we'll find with Judge Luce Cannon. I think we are all in a difficult position in terms of anything we thought we knew about civics in school as we see it failing in our current nation. What are we going to do about it? Resolve that we're not going to put up with this. Resolve enough is enough. Kick in the ass every Democrat who is trying to game this and tell them this is no game. This is life or death. You have to commit. You have to commit now. You have to act now. So that's my thinking on this warm, but it doesn't feel like it, stroll in the the Cathedral of Trees. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.